All right, guys. Well, thanks for being here once again. Little intro to myself. I am a health and nutrition coach. I work alongside functional medicine doctors as well as with clients specifically to help them establish nutrition and lifestyle routines that help them reach their goals and be consistent, right? Because nothing matters if we can't be consistent with it. So really big on habits, which is why we are here today and talking to the lovely Lauren. I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself.
Cool, thanks, Brittany. So hi again, I'm Lauren Corarito. As Brittany said, I am also a nutrition coach. That is not my full-time day job. It is something that I started while I was still a full-time educator. So my background is in education. Right after undergrad, went and taught music over in the Middle East. And so I have a lot of experience working with different cultures, different populations, language barriers, and trying to solve problems. And I met Brittany serendipitously at a different gym. It was like, 6 a.m., something like that. We were both waiting for a bench. She's like, "Are you waiting for an incline bench?" And I'm like, "Yeah, what are you waiting for?" She's like, "An incline bench." So that just, our two worlds joined, and here we are. We found out we're both nutrition coaches. And when she asked me to speak, I was like, "Well, what do you want me to talk about? Because we do the same thing, and this is your spotlight. I don't want to encroach on it." And we figured, how about talk about habits and like the value that coaches can bring to the habit building process. So I truly hope that nothing is earth-shattering or groundbreaking, whatever information I talk at you today. Hopefully it's things that you've heard before. But my goal is to help shed some light on how a coach can support you through that process, and also maybe get you thinking about potential new habits that you may want to incorporate into your lifestyle. I was going to say, as we move into warmer weather, but we have like 5 inches of snow, whatever, like in a few days. Yeah, in a few days when it feels like spring again, and you get that itch to maybe change up some of your food patterns, eat more seasonal things as you try and change up your movement patterns, maybe spend more time outside. Hopefully something I say today resonates with you to maybe inspire and motivate. So I did want to start by sharing a story. It's really just calling myself out on being a horrible client, because when I was living in the Middle East, I really was not a very active person prior to starting like my professional adulthood, part of my life. I maybe ran a little bit. That was what my dad did. He kind of instilled that upon my siblings and I. But it wasn't until I graduated and was an adult and was like, hey, I should probably take care of my body and do something to move and be active. So I started CrossFit. Yeah, it was terrible. It was great. It was great. I'm just kidding. I had some really great coaches. They were really fantastic. A couple of coaches that were like ex-Royal Marines from the UK, and they had really heavy accents. And every time they said air squats, it sounded like ass squats. And I was like, that's redundant. I don't know what you're yelling at me. But I learned a lot, and it really motivated me to get my nutrition on track, because I thought that eating a giant pancake after like a 13-mile run was sufficient. It was not. Please don't make that mistake. And so I sought the help of a nutrition coach that was working at the Box back in Florida, where I went for holidays and vacations. My family's from Florida. And his name was Billy. Great coach. He was a macro coach. So he was really dialed into telling people exact numbers for, how much to eat for proteins, fats, and carbs. And that really was part of the CrossFit, cult back then, was like, okay, go do your workout, like kill yourself for an hour, and then make sure you eat exactly what I tell you to eat, and you can't enjoy anything. For whatever reason, I paid that coach to tell me to do that, right? And everything was great. We worked remotely because I was living overseas. And he would send me numbers each week and say, eat this, this, and this, and then weigh yourself, take some pictures, tell me how you're feeling, and then I'll give you new numbers. And I thought, okay, that's great. Awesome. I can do that. So like Monday through Friday, I was really dialed in. And then the weekends, paint you a picture, I was not dialed in. I would go out to the desert with my friends from CrossFit, and we'd pick up pizzas and candy, like Cadbury chocolate bars. Oh my God, right? That's a weakness of mine. And we'd just go out into the desert and play like spike ball and have campfires and just eat a bunch of garbage food. And then I'd have to weigh myself the next day and then check in with my coach and say, I ate all the numbers that you told me to eat, but like my pictures still look like this, and I'm still weighing this, but I ate what you told me to eat. And it was so ironic and just horrible in so many senses of the word, because I was, again, paying this man to tell me what to eat. I was not following his directions. And then I was feeling guilty about it because I didn't have that discipline to both communicate effectively, but also practice those macros and practice that eating pattern on the weekend. I was so dialed in Monday through Friday, and then the weekend hit and I felt so restricted that I thought, I need to eat this. I'm moving my body so much, I just need to do it, and then it'll be fine come Monday morning. And there were a lot of feelings of shame and like failure that came with that. And I hated that I did not have these systems in place. And of course, I wasn't communicating to Billy and saying, hey, this is how I'm feeling. There's these, I feel inadequate because I can't follow your directions. I didn't tell that to him at all. So he only had the information that I typed out to him and sent on a Google Doc each week. And I only worked with him for maybe 5 or 6 months. And then I realized I probably should get a better or a different coach and develop a better relationship with food, because that was truly what was holding me back, is that I felt like I had to perform a certain way and then I wasn't living up to it and I wasn't meeting the expectations of the coach. So all in all, I'm a failure, right? Full circle. And that's what inspired me to get educated about food, about nutrition, how it works with our body, but ultimately how we can develop habits that are sustainable. Because so many people have a variety of experiences with food, that what works for you doesn't work for you, doesn't work for me. And I really liked that problem solving approach of, what's working for Morgan? Why is she succeeding here, but maybe she's meeting resistance here? Or where do I have resistance, but where am I excelling? So that led me to get certified through Precision Nutrition, which is the world's leading nutrition certification company, and ultimately get really nerdy about habits and how to build those routines. So as Brittany and I were talking, I was like, okay, I'm going to share the story. I know I'm going to share the story because I was a terrible client. I hope that I'm maybe a better client now. I do work with a different coach who's based out of Scottsdale, and I tell him everything. Like he probably has too much information. But that helps him coach me better, both like from a mental health standpoint, from a physical standpoint, just holistically, like true definition of holistic coaching. 3 things that I wanted to communicate to you. And again, hopefully you've heard them before. Hopefully they're not revolutionary. But as we think about building new habits, there's 3 steps that can really help us solidify. And the first is small is sustainable. So as coaches, our superpower is to listen to what our clients want. Usually it's some big lofty goal, whatever it is, right? Run an ultra marathon, lose 20 pounds, or maybe it's have longevity and sustainable health to play with grandkids at an older age, right? We hear that lofty goal, and then our superpower is breaking that down into actions, maybe check marks along the way, and then breaking it down even further into what daily action can you take day after day, week after week, that builds to that lofty goal. Because as just individuals, we're our harshest critics, right? So when we say, I want to go do this really cool thing, and then we funnel down to, okay, this is what I have to do every day, that can be overwhelming. That can be like, oh my God, how am I going to accomplish that goal? It's going to take X amount of time. And coaches help keep us motivated, because we can't rely on internal motivation. Discipline is what we need. So coaches help motivate to then build that discipline. And we help you find whatever that small action is that is sustainable. And then we help celebrate those wins along the way. I'm sure I can speak for Brittany when I say like celebrating our clients' wins is such a good feeling. We love that.
So fun.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yes. So small is sustainable, right? We want to think about whatever that goal is, whether it's spending more time outside, spending more time with kids outside, making sure you go on family walks, like whatever it is, like figure out. Maybe starting with 3 60-minute walks a week that might be really lofty, real lofty goal, but that's where you want to get to. But maybe that starts with a 10-minute walk when you get home from school once a week. And you say, this is family walk time, right? Or for nutrition, from a nutrition lens, you need to hydrate a little bit more, right? As we move into the warmer season. And you start with drinking a glass of water right when you wake up every day.
When I feel like people oftentimes like they simplify it, but it's like, okay, so I want to go to the gym. I want to start working out more. So I'm just going to go to the gym 5 times a week, only for 30 minutes or whatever. And that like our job is like, no, like even smaller. Like sometimes it's like, we want to start with like the most minuscule. Like sometimes I'm telling my clients like, no, I just want you to try to get like 3 meals a day, twice a week. And like, that's where we're starting. And that it's like, sometimes like it feels like a really, really small step, but like that's, once you achieve that smaller step, it makes those further steps just come even easier, right?
Yes. Oh, perfect. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. Thank you. That was perfect. And the the momentum that you build, right? Like we can't rely on motivation, but we can rely on momentum of those small wins that snowball and accumulate the, once a week, 3 times a week. And you're also building credibility with yourself. You're proving to yourself, yes, I can do this. And your coach will be there to support you along the way.
The words you used specifically was like, motivation is a myth, right? Like people think like, oh, I'm just going to wait till I have motivation. And then like, that's when I'll start, right? Like the motivation, you might have it for a week and like, you'll be killing it. But then what happens after your motivation goes away, right? And so when we're building that discipline, when we're building that like trust with ourselves, like that's the way that you're going to see those habits get more sustainable, and you're going to find it easier to keep your momentum going because you're not relying on just feeling like doing it, right? Like sometimes you do have things where you're like, I don't really want to do it. I don't really want to get out of bed today, right? But like, I'm going to just make it happen because this is what I said I was going to do for myself. And it's just like checking off those little boxes. And then the more you're checking those boxes, you're like, oh my gosh, like this is working. Like I'm doing stuff. That's the momentum that you're building. And then the motivation will come in waves through that as you go, but you're not solely relying on just that motivation alone.
Yes. Oh, yes. I said that motivation is a myth.
I think you did.
Said that.
Yeah.
Okay. I love that.
Just take credit either way.
Cool. Great. Awesome. So yes, motivation is a myth, and small is sustainable. So yes, we're remembering those 2 things. The second concept to help build these habits is never skip twice. If you have has anyone read Atomic Habits by James Clear? Okay, hopefully this sounds familiar. One of those concepts that he, I don't want to say preaches, but really encourages is never skip twice, because if you skip twice, that becomes the new habit. So obviously we are busy parents, professionals, individuals. We have presence in our family lives, our personal lives, the community. We have responsibilities. Things happen. So it's okay if we skip once, but do anything in your power to make sure that you do not skip twice, because then you're giving yourself permission to make that the new habit.
And you're stalling your momentum, right? Like any momentum that you had built, now you've skipped twice, and then your brain's going to start going crazy with like, oh, I skipped, like, oh, the shame cycle starts, right? Like the more that you can prevent yourself from ending up in a situation where you may be shaming yourself, like then you're setting yourself up for success to get that momentum back. Right?
Yeah. So there it is. We can rely on momentum, but we can't rely on motivation. So coming full circle. Love that. And then the third concept, I think never skip twice, is pretty self-explanatory, so I don't want to spend too much time on that. But the third concept is habit stacking, also something from James Clear, right? So as you're thinking about what new habits you want to incorporate into your routine as we enter the late spring, early summer season, think about what you're already doing really well. Like what do you already excel in? What are you doing great with your nutrition, with your movement? And is there a way to habit stack, which I hate that phrase because it sounds like biohacking, and it's like, okay, we're not going into that arena, but like habit stacking, right? We want to pair a new habit with something that you already do. So if you already take your vitamins every morning, take them with a full glass of water. Super simple, right? Small is sustainable. Never skip twice, and then habit stack. And if you do those 3 things, you should be setting right? But life is messy, but you should be setting yourself up for success to incorporate that new habit into your lifestyle. Did you want to add anything to habit stacking?
Like it. I mean, I feel like even sometimes it comes down to like, oh, I brush my teeth every day, and so let's do some squats after you brush your teeth. Like you can really like add something in that maybe feels kind of ridiculous, but is also like, if that's a way that you're going to remember to do it, like that's going to build that momentum. That's going to build that consistency, that it's like, even if it's something that, brushing your teeth every day, that we're all hopefully brushing our teeth every day. That's like, that's an easy one to add in something afterwards. Or that's when you're going to drink your water afterwards or whatever. That it's like, that's an easy one because that's something that we've been taught to do every day for our entire lives, right?
Yes. I keep saying drinking water, but I think that's because it's on my mind, because I personally have been trying to add in electrolytes into my morning routine. Some of you, I think I've already said, I go to Vasa. That's how I met Brittany, right? But I go at like 4:30 in the morning, and it's horrible. I'm a morning person, but like moving my body at 4:30 is tough. And I need electrolytes just in general. So I have habit stacked the last like month and a half to make sure I drink my electrolytes with my vitamins first thing in the morning. So that is, I am a living, breathing example of habit stacking, and it's working for me. So hopefully it works for you, either with, hydration or food.
Yeah. And Atomic Habits is a great resource too. If you guys haven't read it, he even talks about using it for like cleaning your house. Like he talks about like, he knows somebody that every time before he gets in the shower, he cleans his toilet. But it's like, that's his way of like keeping consistent with cleaning his toilet, because he's like, also I'm going to get in the shower, I'll like rinse off. So it's if I get gross from cleaning the toilet, like I'm going to rinse off. And so it's like you can totally apply these in so many different ways. And that's definitely something that I would say has been really beneficial for me, is like, let's find those little things that I'm already doing and just add that on top of it. So
perfect segue into my next point. Thank you, Brittany. We did not plan this at all. Is, again, how can a coach support you in those 3 areas, right? So we already kind of discussed a coach can help narrow down that lofty goal into that small and sustainable action you can take. And a coach can also help motivate you when needed, short-term motivation to never skip twice. I have had clients in the past that I've said, okay, if you're feeling like, if you have that voice in the back of your head that's like, I don't know, I'm tired, I don't want to go to the gym, I tell them, text me. I will hype you up. I will tell you all the things that are going to go right if you go and do that. And again, that is a service, a benefit of having a coach, of having someone who is not part of your friend or family group, who will tell you how it is and say, you're paying me money to help you reach your goal. So let's get to work. Let's go take that action you need to take to meet that goal.
Yeah, I like to call them gremlins, those little thoughts that come up in your mind and like try to like mess with you and whatever. And that's like one of, I think, the biggest values of having a coach is like, yeah, I tell my clients, like, any of those gremlins coming up, or like if you're sitting down to eat your plate of food and like this anxiety is just hitting you, like, text me. That's what I want to be there for you, to help you through that and like speak to those gremlins, remind you like this protein that's on your plate, like that's going to go and give you a bunch of amino acids to rebuild your tissues, to help you have more sustained energy levels, right? Like whatever little fact or mantra or something that I can give someone that's in that situation to help them like get through that and not let the gremlins win, right?
I love that. Gremlins. Yes. So don't let the gremlins win. And again, another perfect segue is, how do we make sure that progress is being made? It's by tracking and celebrating, right? So if you are perfectly capable, everyone is perfectly capable of tracking and celebrating, but sometimes some people just need a little bit of extra support, or they need structure to properly track. So I know when I work with my clients, they get a weekly progress tracking sheet, and every week they use a scale of 1 to 10 to rate their movement, their hydration, their mindset, their sleep, their energy levels. And so they are checking in with themselves every week on those areas, right, to meet that criteria. And it forces them to think back and realize, did I have a good week? Was it an okay week? Was there anything life-shattering? Hopefully not. We want just lots of boring weeks in a row. And then they have to identify one win for the week and then feedback, because there is no failure, there's only feedback, right? We think about what happened that week and what can we do to make next week better. And so whether you have a tracking sheet or a bullet journal or just a normal journal, or you have a tracking app, like whatever you're using to track your progress, your coach can celebrate that with you, or they can be in charge, and manage that progress tracking for you. And then when you're having a garbage day, that's when our second superpower comes into play, and we find something to hype you up with, right? Whether it's you got out of bed this morning, you put pants on, right? Like whatever, we have all had those days. Or you completely crushed your macros, your movement, you spent time with your family, you went to your job, you did your work, like you had an amazing day. Let's repeat that, right? Like whatever your goal is, and if you feel like you are lacking in some way, shape, or form for that day, a coach will help support you. And it might just be like you need to word vomit to your coach. I've done that to my coach many a time, and he is so wonderful and understanding. And he's like, thank you for sharing all of that, because I know that there's this mental stress that's acting upon you, and that affects how you perform physically, right? Sports performance, sports therapy, what's the word I'm thinking of? Competitive therapy. Yeah, well, you know what? Those are important too. Yes, specifically for kids. Yes, but someone who listens to you and listens to your concerns for competition and performance, right? Those. Oh, thank you. Yes. I was like, what is that like? Thank you. You're brilliant. Game. You didn't know this was going to be interactive. Yeah. Yes, sports psychologist, right? Like your coach can just act as a sounding board, right? Like obviously we are not psychologists, not saying that at all. But we can act as just a sounding board to support you in that way.
Yeah, and I think it's even huge. Like one of the biggest things that I feel like we also bring is that we're like forcing someone to have that reflection period too, right? That it's like so many people that you're like, well, like how did your meals go for the week? And then it's like, well, most people walk around without even really thinking about it, right? And so if we're actually like asking you that consistently and you're getting more like paying attention to what's actually on your plate or the kind of movement that you're doing, you're more likely to actually want to make changes because you're seeing like, yeah, no, I didn't hit my protein goal again. Like, dang it. Like, okay, I really want to try to do better next week. And if you're not looking at that, if you're not like getting curious with what your routines are like or the things that you are implementing, then it makes it so much harder for you to make any sort of changes because you're not even keeping track of it, right? And so that's what a coach can also help you do is look at those patterns that you're having and help you kind of find where you could break out of those or find what you could do differently to continue moving forward instead of getting into like a rut and like, well, I didn't do it again. Like, dang it, I suck, starting the shame cycle all over again, right? Like we're able to kind of help break you out of that and help you see like, well, maybe you didn't do so well here. Like here's some feedback that we can do to help improve that next week. But also let's really look at the things that did go well this week, right? Because it's not like you didn't do anything productive for the whole week or you didn't do anything that's going to reach you to your goals. That those smaller sustainable things come even more important in that feedback period too, because we're able to use those small pieces of like, well, I know that you were really working on like getting some electrolytes in the morning. So like, what did you do that at least some this week? Like, even if you didn't hit your protein goal, like, let's talk about some of these other goals. And so it's easier to keep someone from going down that like shame spiral and letting the gremlins out and whatever, because we're able to kind of say like, okay, here's where we could improve here, but let's still celebrate what we did do well, right?
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. So I think really to wrap it up, you know, the value of a coach, not just for nutrition or food or health, this can be transferred to anything, whether it's a professional coach, a running coach. Sorry, I'm picking on you because I heard you say that you run ultras. So I'm like, I want to make this applicable to you, right? You know, running coach. I'm sure you have a running. Do you have a running coach?
I do. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes. Good. Right.
She's heard all the gremlins and then some.
Okay. Right. So it's valuable, right?
There's a lot of gremlins that happen out there.
Yes. Right. So in whatever capacity your coach is working with you on, like all of these things, small is sustainable, never skip twice, right? Habit stack, all those things are transferable. So ultimately, I would say, again, through this lens of moving into the next season of life, whatever you have going on, either the end of the school year, summer vacation, travel, work, whatever, think about maybe one thing that you want to change or add on to or just improve upon. Think about how small, sustainable, habit stacking, never skip twice, try and implement one of those key concepts to make your life just a little bit easier, because life is hard. We're all really busy and we want to make sure that we're working smarter, not harder. We can't rely on motivation. We have to rely on momentum and discipline. So that's all I got.
Cool. I love it. I would love for you to touch on the like psychological side. Like you said, we're no psychologists, but I think habits specifically can be really helpful for like building that like positive psychology in our brains. And specifically, one of the quotes that you had written down is reminding yourself that like I am somebody that takes care of myself consistently, right? And like that's something else that a coach can kind of like speak to you and help kind of reinforce that positive energy, if you will, that's going on in your body. But it's so important to have that mental piece as well. So any tips that you can give for getting that like mental habit side of like, it's just as much of a habit of how you talk to yourself in the mirror as it is how much water you're drinking, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, the mental aspect of creating a habit is probably super important, probably the most important, because you have to believe in yourself, because discipline is really like self-trust, right? Like if you have that discipline, it means that you trust yourself enough. You've repeated an action enough that you know it will happen. Thank you so much, ladies.
See you next time. Thanks for coming.
Good discipline. Yes, thank you. Have to go to work. Yes.
Oh, all right. We do go to Fillmore.
Yes. Yes.
Amazing.
Good. We'll see you there.
Thank you guys so much. It was a pleasure meeting all of you.
Yes.
See you later.
Thank you. Have a
See you
great
next time.
weekend.
Of course. Yeah. See you next month.
Yeah.
Okay.
Enjoy.
Bye. See you later, Christine.
Bye. So discipline that trust with yourself to know that you need to do something even though you don't feel like doing it. That's how you build, day after day, action after action, but then also allowing yourself some grace. So when you work with a coach, you know that you can fall back on them to support you. Like, hey, you don't have to have everything together. Like you are just one person. Like allow your coach, delegate some of that responsibility to your coach to say, okay, I'm having a really tough day, week, month, whatever it is. So here's the information, here's the word vomit to my coach. And then, how can you help me? How can I move past this? And usually, it's no like magic secret sauce or recipe. It's usually like us saying just that, like, you're human, you're allowed to feel this way. Your feelings are valid. You're going through a really tough time. Like, how can we find a small win today, this afternoon, or tomorrow, or this week, right? Like, what can we do to make sure that you feel like momentum is still moving forward, but you're not so drained and feeling so stressed that, you know, you're like landlocked and frozen.
And help somebody
right?
kind of shift out of that mindset too, right? Of like, that shame cycle isn't helpful. So like the more that you're staying there, like there is a very energetic component to our emotions. And the more that we're sitting in like a shame or a guilt or discouragement, that those chemicals that your brain is making get sent to the rest of your system. And then your body is just like sitting in like a sad soup, basically, for lack of better words. That is like, the more that we can like stop that and change that narrative that's going on in your mind, the more that we're correcting that physiological response throughout the rest of your system too. So it's like, let's stop the negative self chatter. Like, yeah, tell me all of the things that you want to say to yourself. Let's find a different narrative that you can start speaking to yourself. And the more positive reinforcement you have, even just for like the smallest little things, or like there's people that'll have you saying I love you in the mirror, and those just like really little things, they really do create that same chemical cascade through your system and help create that positive enforcement and that momentum to help keep you moving forward too.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Do you have any other little habit trick that you want to leave us with?
Gosh, I'm a big proponent of visual cues. So I work with my clients a lot on making something obvious and easy for them, because again, everyone's busy. So one example, I'll say, one of my more recent clients, she busy mom, full-time working. She had like triplet teenagers with special needs, so like lots of time pulled in different directions. And again, teenagers, they were like going to dance and karate and the gym. And I'm like, I don't even know how you have time for anything, but here you are working on your health, right? And during her workday, she struggled with hydration. That's just something that she could not, for the life of her, keep up with. And of course, that affected her sleep and her energy, right? Holistic. And so I said, okay, let's start with sticky notes on your computer monitor. That worked for a couple weeks. Then she got used to seeing this. So I was like, okay, let's move the sticky notes to the other part of your desk. So when you see this bright yellow sticky note, that means drink water. Eventually, she did get better at her hydration, but she'd still go like 2-3 hours without drinking anything. So I was like, how about I just send you an automated text? How about we just do that so that you get a ping, and that means, hey, you drink and you hydrate, just to get you on kind of like a normal schedule. And so if you don't know, if you're an iPhone user, sorry, Android users, you can automate shortcuts to send texts at specific times, and you don't have to approve it. You can just go to your shortcuts, automations, and I automated like 5 texts a day to her. So I didn't have to think about that, right? I didn't have to be like, oh my gosh, it's 3 o'clock. I have to text Julia to drink water. It just automatically happened. She would see it. She would give it a thumbs up so that I knew that she saw it and she drank water. And we did that for, I think she needed it only for like a month or so. And then she was like clockwork. She was like, oh my gosh, it's like my body is expecting to hear the ding of my text tone, but I don't hear it because I turned those off, right? But she knows to drink water. So yeah, if you didn't know, you can automate things, texts or reminders at specific times. So if that works for you, if you need a reminder to take your vitamins, drink your water, eat a snack, whatever's going on, highly recommend that you use that.
Yeah, and on the same vein of a visual, like one of my favorite things to give clients is like, well, we usually do like a pantry stock and a freezer stock, and then I'm going to give you a list of meals that is like, this is what is available in my fridge, in my freezer, like this is what I could just make for myself, and I have it here. And so then that way it takes some of the mental load out of like, what am I going to make? Like, what are my options? Like, whatever, like, this is what I have all this stuff for. Like, I don't even have to think about it, right? And so those just like little things that you can kind of like, again, it feels like biohacking, but it's like not biohacking, like it's just hacking yourself and your brain, and like being realistic of like, these are the things that I struggle with, and these are the areas that I could support myself in that. And that's where we're also great for helping you find little resources or little tricks. Like, I'm sure we have tons that we could just go through of like this little trick or whatever that can help just make those things more obvious and more relevant to what you're already doing to make it a little easier.
Yes.
Now I want to open the floor up. Does anybody else have any questions for Lauren before we wrap up? What do you got?
Great nutrient tracking. It also has 5% of meals
Okay.
Excellent question.
Those are good questions. Yes. Let me answer the first one first. Wait, what did you just say?
That's a good question.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were like, let me answer that question. I was like, okay, cool. So I'm a big proponent of Chronometer. Have you heard of Chronometer?
Chronometer's
As
the
a
best.
tracking app.
It's like a little Apple on the App Store.
Yes. Okay. I know they have a desktop version as well, but I like the app. I find that it has the least amount of like fluff. Like MyFitnessPal just has a lot of fluff and ads and stuff like that.
And the free version, like you still get a lot of
yes, thank you.
of the things. Like MyFitnessPal specifically, you have to pay for the upper version to be able to like scan a barcode. Or a Chronometer, like in the free one, you can scan your barcode and like upload whatever packaged food it is or whatever. It'll just like import everything for you. There's also apps that like you can take a picture of your plate and it'll like AI do it. That's something that I've been like playing with for some people that are like not as like I want to enter like my chicken and like whatever. That can be helpful. I feel like for the tracking specifically, like most of my clients find it easier to just put everything in either at the beginning of the day or at the end of the day rather than having to do it like at each meal. So if that's something that's helpful, like do you have any other tracking specific habits?
Yes. So for as far as the like eating out thing, because that's tricky, right? Because you don't have a barcode to scan and you don't exactly know what's in it. So I teach hand size portions to my clients. Are you familiar with that system at all? Kind of. No. Okay. So typically if you're just tracking like your protein, fats, carbs, or if you're monitoring your proteins, fats, carbs, a serving of protein is anywhere from 20 to 30 grams of protein, and it'll be like the size of your palm. So protein palm, that's what you're going with. A serving of carbs is again anywhere from 20 to 30 grams, and that'll be like a cupped handful. So a cupped handful of rice, grains, chips. Chips is a little weird because it depends on the size. So maybe like a scooped hand of like tortilla chips. And then fats is the size of your thumb. So that could be like a piece of cheese, and that's usually like 9 to 12 grams of fat. So again, if you have nothing with you, you're going out to eat and you're like, I kind of need to know roughly what I'm eating. Let's say you're at a restaurant, whatever, and you know that you can get a plate where you can build those ingredients. If you go with palm size portion of protein, cup of carbs, cupped handful of carbs, and then like thumb, and again that might be like olive oil or some kind of dressing. I know that one's kind of hard to visualize because you're like, how can a thumb be dressing liquid? I don't know, but it at least gives you kind of like some kind of visual. And of course however much protein you need, right? Like, so obviously like super active male clients that are like 6'7", weighing 210 pounds probably need like 2 to 3 palm sizes of protein per meal. And then maybe like 3 or 4 cupped handfuls. So you can mix and match. But typically that's what I'll tell my clients. I'm like, hey, if you're going out because you have work lunches or you're just going out for personal reasons, like try and hopefully you have 2 hands with you, right? And so you can use those to somewhat visually manage and measure. Does that help answer your question? Okay.
So I would
That's a good
say
question.
I'm really big on like blood sugar regulation. Like you want to keep your blood sugar stable throughout the day. That's how you keep your energy level stable. That's how you keep your mental focus in the best way. That I say like you want protein at least with every meal that you can. I say that naked carbs are something that you want to avoid. So carbs that are just carbs by themselves. You want to have like fats or proteins with your carbs so that you digest them slower. They're not like spiking your blood sugar and that kind of thing. So I'm always like protein forward. Like if you could get a protein snack somewhere in there, or even if you're going out to eat, like prioritizing something that has like a big piece of chicken or some salmon or something so that you know you're getting that like blood sugar stabilizing effect from the protein. But other than that, I feel like there's not really, there's different studies will tell you different things of like, you should have carbs in the morning, you should have carbs in the evening. Like there's kind of nuance depending on like what your goals are, what kind of training you're doing, and how, like when you're doing your training throughout your day. That's like, that's absolutely something that I'm happy to chat with you too, of like what, based on what you're currently doing, like what would be most advantageous to like distribute those macronutrients. But getting, I think like a balanced plate of like fats, proteins, carbs at most of the times that you are going to be eating is going to be the best way to kind of keep yourself able to get all of the macros that you're trying to get in a day, but then also making sure it's like a balanced plate, you're not spiking your blood sugar and all that kind of stuff. Anything to add in that regard?
Yes, absolutely. My answer is like, it depends. So exactly what Brittany said, like, and because she said it, depending on what your goals are, like your goals are probably very different from your goals, which are very different from Drew's goals, right? Like, who knows? So if you, and it depends on your schedule, right? So if you literally cannot eat during the workday, then you are going to either front load all of like half your macros in the morning and maybe half your macros at the end of the day. Like there's just a lot of things that it depends on. Ideally, yeah, you want to have protein at every meal. You would love, it should be, you should have vegetables at every meal because we don't want to forget about our micronutrients, right? The lesser folk, right? Like we want micronutrients. a healthy, well-balanced plate. But it depends on your schedule, depends on how you digest things, what time you're training, like everything that Brittany said. I love
Which is also the advantage of having a coach, because we can kind of help you pick through that and figure out what it is that would be best for you and whatever too. So
that was such a good question. Yeah. Any other
okay,
questions?
Mandy's trying to get out of here, and I would love to take a picture with all of you guys before she leaves. So